Have you ever wondered if karma is real? Not just the idea of it, but the kind of swift, undeniable justice that feels like it was ripped from a movie script? Well, you're about to see it in action. The sound of his hand hitting my face was deafening, but in the shocked silence that followed, three things became crystal clear. Our story was over, his perfect life was about to burn to the ground, and he had no idea my phone held 6 months of his secrets. Some fairy tales begin with once upon a time. Mine should have started with, I ignored every single red flag. But it's hard to see clearly when you're living in a fantasy someone else has built around you. And for 3 years, I believed I was living the dream with Ethan Vance. On paper, the man was flawless. He was a rising star marketing director at a huge downtown firm, clearing 6 figures before he hit 30. He had an online following of 500,000 people who devoured his posts about ambition, success, and the secrets to a perfect relationship. Ethan had that rare magnetic quality, the kind that makes a crowded room feel like it's revolving just around him. When he turned his smile on you, it felt like the sun had decided to shine just for you. And for 3 years, I felt like the luckiest person on earth because that sun was shining on me. Our shared social media was a highlight reel of a perfect life. Weekend getaways to wine country, dinners at restaurants so exclusive you needed connections to get a table, and surprise bouquets of flowers delivered to my office that made my coworkers sigh with envy. Ethan was a master at crafting moments. He'd plan these incredible surprises, but his phone was always out, ready to capture the perfect, shareable shot. We're the definition of #couple goals, babe, he'd murmur, tilting my chin just right for a selfie. We have to show people what true love looks like. But that's the trap of a perfect picture, isn't it? It only shows 1/60th of a second. It doesn't show the 5 minutes before when he was criticizing my outfit, or the 5 minutes after, when his smile vanished the moment the phone was put away. A photo can't capture the sound of a man whispering insults under his breath while holding your hand for the camera. It began with things so small I felt crazy for even noticing them. Little comments about my clothes, always framed as helpful advice. Are you sure about that dress? It's just, the green one makes you look so much more professional. He'd correct the way I pronounced a wine at a fancy dinner, but he'd do it with a little laugh, as if my lack of knowledge was an adorable quirk. He'd question why I needed a girls' night with my friends. Couldn't we just spend that time together? I miss you. If only I had known that these weren't suggestions, but the first threads of a cage he was weaving around me. The real wake-up call should have been my promotion. I'd busted my butt for 2 years to become a senior manager at my PR firm, and when I told him, his reaction wasn't excitement, it was annoyance. That's amazing, babe, but doesn't that mean more travel? With your new hours, we're hardly going to see each other. He had a way of twisting my success into a burden on our relationship. Of course, he still posted about it online, crafting a long caption about how proud he was of his powerhouse girlfriend. But behind closed doors, he made me feel guilty for it. The surprise trip to Italy was his next power move, disguised as romance. We were at home one night, and I was venting about a demanding client when he just pulled out his phone, interrupting me to show me 2 tickets to Rome. Surprise! We leave next month. I already cleared it with your boss. He had gone over my head and called my boss directly. When I tried to explain that I had 3 huge client presentations that exact week, his face hardened. Come on, Chloe. This is for us. Your job will still be there when we get back. We need this. He made me feel like I was the selfish one for prioritizing the career I had worked so hard to build. He was already posting about it, tagging me in stories with captions about whisking the love of my life away. How do you say no to that without looking like the most ungrateful person in the world? So I smiled, thanked him, and spent the next week scrambling to reschedule my entire professional life to fit his grand gesture. I had no idea I was packing my bags for the beginning of the end. The morning we were supposed to leave, the cracks were already starting to show. Ethan snapped at me in the car because I suggested we grab coffee at a smaller, quieter cafe instead of the trendy, crowded one he'd already posted about on his Instagram story. We're not changing the plan now, Chloe, he said, his voice sharp and cold. A moment later, when he saw other travelers looking our way, the charming smile was back on his face. That's when it really hit me how much of his life was a performance. The true nightmare, however, started at the airline check-in counter. Ethan had forgotten his passport. Not misplaced it in a bag, not left it in the car. It was sitting on the nightstand at home. A normal person might have been embarrassed, maybe laughed it off. Not Ethan. He turned to me, his voice loud enough for the entire line to hear, and said, "This is what happens when you make me rush. I told you we needed to leave earlier, but you just had to spend an hour on your makeup." My jaw literally dropped. I had been ready and waiting by the door for 2 hours while he spent 45 minutes getting his hair perfect for his airport aesthetic pictures. But right there, in front of 100 strangers, he painted me as the careless girlfriend who had ruined our vacation. The humiliation was a hot flush on my skin, but what was truly terrifying was how easily the lie came to him, and how, for a split second, he almost made me believe it too. We made a later flight, but the magic was gone. In Italy, Ethan's need for control was suffocating. At our first dinner in Rome, he physically closed the menu I was holding. "Trust me," he said. "You don't want the pasta. The chicken will look much better in the photos." When I insisted, he grew silent and spent the rest of the meal glued to his phone, posting about our perfect romantic evening while ignoring the actual person sitting across from him. The final straw came at a little family-owned restaurant near the Colosseum. I was trying to tell him about an urgent work call I had to take in the morning when he just exploded. "Are you serious right now? Can you not ruin this entire trip with your work drama? Do you have any idea how much this cost? How much planning I had to do?" His voice echoed through the small restaurant. An elderly Italian couple at the table next to us stopped eating and just stared, their faces filled with concern for me. What I didn't realize at the time was that my phone had become an accidental witness. Second nature now, right? You take quick videos of your food. You record voice memos to remember a funny story. My phone was often in my hand, and when Ethan would start one of his tirades, it was sometimes still recording. Without even trying, my camera roll was becoming a secret archive of the man he was behind the perfect captions. Back in our beautiful hotel room that night, I tried to talk to him about his outburst. That's when the mask didn't just slip. He ripped it off. "You are always so dramatic," he spat. "I'm the one paying for everything, dealing with all the stress, and all you do is complain. Maybe if you actually contributed for once, you'd understand how hard it is to be the one in charge." The irony was that I'd offered to split the cost, to help with the planning, but he had refused. He needed to be the one in control. In that moment, I finally understood. This wasn't just stress. This was him. This was the real Ethan Vance, and the fairy tale was officially over. The flight home was delayed 3 hours, and for Ethan, it was the final trigger for a total meltdown. At the airport coffee shop, I watched in horror as he berated a teenage barista for taking too long with his latte. "Is this your first day on the job? This is pathetic. Some of us have important things to get back to." The poor kid's hands were shaking. I apologized to him and slipped a $20 bill into the tip jar. But the damage was done. When they announced a gate change over the intercom, Ethan completely unraveled. "This is a joke. Do they know who I am? I have 500,000 followers who are about to hear about this airline's incompetence." He was shouting into the air, and I could see people pulling out their phones, starting to record his tantrum. That was my fatal mistake. I put a hand on his arm and whispered, "Ethan, please. People are watching." That's all it took. The slap was so fast I didn't see it coming. The sound of it cracked through the terminal, followed by a sudden complete silence. My cheek was on fire and I could taste blood. But the real pain wasn't physical. It was seeing the look in his eyes. Not regret, not shock, but pure, calculated fury. He had hit me because I had embarrassed him. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How quickly an abuser's rage can turn into a performance of regret when they realize there are witnesses. As he saw the sea of phones pointed at us, his face instantly changed from rage to panic. "Chloe, baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. You know I would never." But it was too late. His apology sounded like a press release. Airport security was already walking toward us, and as they approached him, I stood up, picked up my bag, and walked away. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I just walked deliberately and quietly toward the exit, leaving him and our entire life behind. At a bar in a different terminal, I finally looked at my phone. Dozens of missed calls and a string of texts that went from furious to pleading to threatening. I blocked his number. The bartender, a woman my age, slid a napkin toward me. "Good for you," she said softly. That took courage. And I realized the tears streaming down my face weren't from sadness. They were from relief. I was finally free. But I had no idea that while I was sitting there, karma was already punching the clock. Someone had uploaded a crystal clear video of the slap to TikTok. By the time I got home, it was going viral. The next morning, the internet was a firestorm. The video was everywhere. But people weren't just watching, they were investigating. They found his job, his motivational posts about respecting women, and put them side by side with the video of him hitting me. The comments were a brutal, unfiltered reflection of the truth I'd been living. This is what a narcissist looks like behind the filter. I hope his girlfriend is safe. Then I remembered my phone, the voice memos, the videos, the accidental archive. I had 6 months of evidence. I had him screaming at me in Rome, belittling a waiter, melting down in our hotel room. It was a highlight reel of his abuse. Sometimes the universe gives you the evidence you didn't even know you were collecting. By noon, his company had fired him. Brand deals he'd spent years cultivating disappeared in a puff of smoke. His 500,000 followers started dropping by the thousands. He posted a tearful apology video, blaming stress and a misunderstanding. But no one bought it. The man who had built an empire on a carefully curated image was being destroyed by 30 seconds of unfiltered reality. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new apartment in San Diego, watching the sun set over the ocean. That promotion he resented so much came with a relocation package. A clean slate 3,000 miles away from him. My life doesn't look like an Instagram feed anymore. It's messy and real and completely my own, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The last I heard, Ethan had moved back in with his parents and was working at a car dealership in his hometown. His online following has tanked to a few thousand, mostly bots and rubberneckers who can't look away from a good train wreck. I don't feel angry anymore. I feel grateful that I got out. And those recordings, I gave them to a domestic violence awareness organization. They use his voice to teach others how to recognize the warning signs I missed for so long. Sometimes the best revenge isn't watching someone's life fall apart. It's building your own back up, stronger than it ever was before. If this story helped you in any way, please share it. You never know who might need to hear that they're not alone. Hit that subscribe button for more true stories about finding your strength. And always remember, trust your gut, know your worth, and never, ever let someone else's image cost you your light.